Leon. When asked directly, he answers without hesitation. He possesses Metatron, Lord of Purity. The words don't echo, they detonate. Silence spreads across the chamber, the kind that presses on the chest. This is not a rumor or a theory. It is an angelic ultimate skill. And that means one thing everyone understands without saying it out loud. Michael. Control. Domination that leaves no fingerprints. The question arrives fully formed and merciless. How do you judge loyalty when the very act of judging might already be too late? Guy's irritation flares immediately. Rimuru, without asking for the role, is pushed into it. Find a solution. The room fractures. Voices overlap. Suspicion tries to dress itself up as prudence. Before it can spiral, Luminus cuts through the noise. The gravity of the situation reasserts itself. Accusation won't save anyone. Evidence might. Rimuru pulls the discussion back to what they actually know. Dino, Velzard, Feldway's movements, not motives, mechanics. The override circuit, how it activates. Guy confirms what he saw with his own eyes. Feldway physically breached his territory, and that intrusion triggered Velzard's interference. Proximity may matter, not belief, not allegiance, distance. Nothing about that is comforting, but it is something solid. Leon listens, and then says the only thing he can say. He feels no loss of self, not as a hypothesis, not as an argument, as a fact that sits at the center of him. His rejection of Guy is sharp, almost dismissive, followed by an unwavering avowal of what matters most to him. It rings true, not because it convinces everyone, but because it doesn't try to. The mood shifts, not to trust, to restraint. Rimuru frames the conclusion carefully. Unresolved, but manageable. The enemy appears unable to identify angelic skill holders unless they were directly empowered by Veldanava or encountered at close range. Leon's discretion has likely kept him hidden. Luminus and Dagral agree on the practical reality. Mutual paranoia would do more damage than caution ever could. A fragile compromise forms. Leon remains under observation, not condemnation. When Ramirez asks the inevitable, who will watch him, every gaze turns to Rimuru. He recognizes the inevitability of the role and accepts it without ceremony. Unity now depends less on proof than on judgment, and on who is willing to carry doubt without flinching. With internal suspicions contained, the Octagram affirms its unity. Excluding Dino's defection, all 7 Demon Lords commit to a shared front. The threat is acknowledged for what it is. Conflict is no longer hypothetical. Pressed on his intentions, Guy answers with characteristic bluntness. He intends to crush it. No strategy, no poetry. Just the opening move toward open war. The scope comes next. Guy confirms the enemy force, the 7 Primordial Angels, Feldway, Dino, and Michael as their supreme commander, with Velzard aligned against them. Luminus names it plainly. This is a Temma War, a catastrophe that returns every 500 years. Guy corroborates the history and explains Armageddon, Ludora's ability that summoned angelic armies, limited in duration, devastating while they lasted. Rimuru doesn't argue the past. He interrogates the future. If angels can be granted physical bodies the way demons can, then the old limits don't apply. A Temma War that doesn't end is not a cycle. It's an extinction trajectory. Then Rimuru drops the detail that reframes everything. Kazalim, now under enemy control, has already enacted a dead birthday. Roughly 60,000 lives sacrificed. Guy initially frames the outcome in terms of utility, vessels suitable for primordial level possession. Rimuru cuts deeper. That's not the point. The angels already have bodies. The walking dead are meant for something else. His conclusion lands hard. If high-level angels are implanted into corpses infused with stronger self-awareness, the result isn't a temporary army. It's a new class of beings, physically anchored, sentient, armed with angelic power. The room goes silent. No one needs the implications spelled out. The silence doesn't last. Attempts to downplay its surface, because the alternative is accepting how bad this could get. Rimuru doesn't retreat. From a strategic standpoint, the logic is brutal and clean. The experiment costs the enemy little. The payoff could be catastrophic. Even Guy concedes it. No point having a huge army if they're all weaklings. What sounded like paranoia hardens into a plausible worst case. Damage control replaces disbelief. Dagral and Luminus extrapolate without embellishment. Seraphim housed in bodies of Clayman's caliber could rival awakened demon lords. Multiple such entities would strain even their combined forces. The tension rises because the conclusion is shared. Tempers flare. Rimuru bristles at being pushed into the role of perpetual solver. Guy insists that equality means shared responsibility. The exchange cracks the tension for a moment, but the threat doesn't move. Milim and Ramirez inject optimism, not because it reassures, but because defiance is sometimes the only counterweight to dread. Then the balance shifts again. Velzard and Velgrind are presumed compromised. Rimuru challenges that assumption. Velgrind escaped Michael's control. She no longer possesses Raguel. The shock ripples through the room. Pressed for details, Rimuru refuses to lay out the mechanics. Deliberately. Suspicion spikes, but he reframes the explanation. Velgrind's skill evolved mid-battle. Her autonomy was restored. Leon backs the claim with experience. Breakthroughs under extreme conditions are real. Gradually, resistance gives way to acceptance. Not certainty, acceptance. Guy closes the thread with a realization that feels heavier than the revelation itself. Ultimate skills may not be the final ceiling after all. Sensing the diminishing returns of speculation, Rimuru resets the board. Precision over conjecture. Velgrind is no longer under enemy control and is currently allied, at least situationally, with Masayuki the hero. He avoids claiming her loyalty outright. Neutrality is enough. As Guy puts it, we'd be up the creek if Velgrind switched sides too. Removing a true dragon from the enemy roster changes everything. Rimuru updates them on the Primordial Angels. 4, including Feldway, have withdrawn to their own world. 3, calling themselves mystic leaders, assaulted Ramirez's labyrinth. The reframing is uncomfortable. The so-called magic race opposed to humanity were mystics acting with intent. Cornu is already destroyed by Velgrind, a feat that underlines her overwhelming strength and reduces the immediate threat count. Then Milim delivers intelligence that doesn't fit cleanly anywhere. One mystic leader, Obala, has defected. She has pledged herself to Milim. Suspicion is immediate and unanimous. The timing is perfect in all the wrong ways. Rimuru and Guy voice the same concern from different angles. It smells like infiltration, an old ploy dressed up as desperation. Milim doesn't flinch. She insists Obala showed no deception. She consulted Caroline and Fry before deciding. Collective judgment tempers doubt. Rimuru listens to the full account and then does something deliberate. He stops arguing. He accepts the defection cautiously, not because it feels safe, but because rejecting it on instinct would fracture what little alignment they have left. Guy synthesizes the implication. Obella remains stationed in the Mystic Palace, monitoring Ivalege, the World Destroyer dragon. Her assignment alone effectively anchors her. Any lapse risks annihilation. On this, the room aligns. Rimuru raises a darker possibility. If Feldway truly doesn't care whether the world survives, unleashing Ivalege could be a final weapon. The idea is rejected swiftly. Feldway is extreme, not suicidal. Ivalege isn't a tool, it's a catastrophe. Past encounters prove the point. Even restraining it once required multiple top-tier beings to prevent planetary destruction. Milim's enthusiasm flares. She'd handle it herself. The refusal is immediate and absolute. Guy asserts authority. If Ivalege resurfaces, he will deal with it. The promise is ominous enough to end the discussion. Attention returns to Obella's value as an informant. Dagrul suggests extracting intelligence. Milim admits the limits. Obella knows little. Feldway's leadership is tightly compartmentalized. Orders without context. Guy confirms it. Feldway believes a properly tasked agent should have no time to worry about others. Ironically, the lack of information strengthens Obella's credibility. Fabrication would have been easier. Rimuru notes the authoritarian logic underpinning Feldway's structure, drawing a thin parallel that sparks a sharp exchange with Guy. He steers it back. Trust Obella for now. Reassess as events unfold. Vigilance over paranoia. The group agrees. Fatigue sets in as they circle back to the central problem. Rimuru asks if anyone else is withholding information. The response is immediate and brutal. He's called out for his own omissions. Luminus takes control and lays out the hostile forces with precision. Michael stands at the top, Velzard under his authority, Feldway beneath them, alongside Zerario, one of the 3 mystic leaders, overseeing the insectors led by Zeranus, the insect lord. The insectors are flagged as a major unknown. Their known representatives are already formidable. That implies depth. Add Dino, Pico, and Garasha, each comparable to an awakened demon lord, potentially wielding unknown ultimate skills. Add the theorized Walking Dead vessels housing angels. Even without numbers, the threat escalates from danger to existential. Strategy follows inevitability. Daggerel identifies the hard limit. Leon cannot engage Michael without risking immediate domination. Rimuru expands it. Michael's mind control abilities can be partially transferred. Feldway may pose the same threat. Leon must be kept away from both. Then Rimuru reveals what ties the pattern together. Veldora himself was briefly controlled through Regalia Dominion. Near absolute control. The room freezes. Isolated incidents snap into alignment. This is systemic. Guy reminds Rimuru dryly that transparency was his demand. The others pile on. Rimuru concedes. It wasn't really a secret, he says. No one accepts that. He apologizes.